Hey guys, welcome to Juicy Tea, where I read out the best stories on Reddit, so you don't have to. The funny, shocking, and satisfyingly juicy. Today's Crazy Karen Tuesday, where we encounter Karens in the wild. Middle school tyrant finds out that nobody likes her. Our first story comes from the Petty Revenge subreddit, posted by Lord Ray. At my middle school, we had a vice principal who fancied herself a dictator. Any tiny bit of power she got was an issue. But I was a middle schooler at the time, and a good kid, not often in trouble, so I didn't cross her path until 8th grade. Her friend was a bus driver, named Pat. Previously, we had an awesome bus driver. He was nice to the kids and let us put down the windows when the Georgia heat got too much. But he retired, and the bus driver we got was an extremely angry middle-aged woman named Pat, who did not like children and made that clear every day. "The windows stay up or we're going back to school," she would yell as she had the only fan blowing in her face on a 100+ degree school bus. Apparently, this was to keep us from throwing things out of the bus, but that was never an issue, before or after. The real reason was that before the bus driver could leave the bus at the end of the day, all the windows had to be back up and locked, so this saved her effort. My bus stop was the first she drove by, but the last to pick up from, and that had been that way for years. Pat changed this and decided that she only wanted to stop on the first pass by, and kept threatening to leave the kids in my neighbourhood if we made her stop twice. I first got on the Karen VP's radar because Pat left me on the side of a very busy road one morning. She could have stopped, but she wagged her finger at me as she drove away and left me. I flipped off the kids laughing at me out of the back window, but bus driver Pat thought I was flipping her off. I didn't get suspended because she left me with no way to get to school on the side of an extremely busy road, and my mum threatened to sue if it happened again. But after that, they had it out for me. Pat tried several times to get me on anything. She even coached a kid to say that I bullied him. But when the real principal brought the kid in, he said, "No, OP's my friend. It was those other kids. Anything to get me in trouble." So the Petty Revenge comes in here. I was doing my best to make the bus driver's life hell in little passive-aggressive ways. She got annoyed at anything, so it was easy. But Karen was harder to do anything too. After fighting with the bus driver and the assistant principal for most of the year, revenge came in the form of a police fundraiser. They were advertising it on the local TV and radio stations. If you put someone up for arrest, the cops would show up and throw them in handcuffs and put them in jail until they could call a few people and fundraise the bail. The person who set up the arrest had to pay like $10, but worth it. My mum, after being annoyed by Pat and Karen all year, put them up for arrest. The cops showed up and took her to the room where she could call her friends and raise the money to let her go. The idea was that Mum was going to keep having her arrested as long as she could. Except that no one would give her the bail money, not even for a charity. So she ended up missing most of the day, sitting in the police precinct trying to get anyone to put up enough money for her to leave. Eventually, the cops told my mum that they had to let her go because it had gone on too long. She was the only one who didn't raise the bail money that day.
Emotional damage!
Letting her know exactly how much she meant to everyone at school felt great. I had a friend who heard her complaining about it later that day. She'd called the principal, who did donate some, but the other teachers gave nothing, and none of her friends would help her out. Apparently, she thought one of the teachers had put her up for it. It's so minor and so petty, it almost doesn't count. But when I left that school at the end of the year, Mum went up and asked her, "How was jail?" before we walked away for the last time. First time I ever heard a "ree" sound from a human. Entitled ex-landlord demands I leave behind the washer and dryer I paid for. Our next story comes from the Entitled People subreddit, posted by Ian Moves Out. So for the past 2 years, I, 25 male, have lived in a small apartment building. The apartment building didn't have a laundry room when I moved in, but did come with hookups for a washer and dryer in the apartment, so I bought them myself. I work at a wildlife sanctuary and get pretty dirty during my work. Just the other day, I had to chase down and wrestle one of our wild boars, Bacon. We didn't name him that, he came with that name. Who loves to escape his pen and thinks it's funny to play chase. I got completely dirty. I was covered in grass stains and mud, so I very much need my washer and dryer. My boyfriend and I just got engaged, and since my lease was up, I moved into his house with him. I finished moving everything out of my old apartment yesterday and thought nothing of taking my washer and dryer with me as I'd bought them. My boyfriend did have his own, but they were old and kept breaking down and were costing too much to fix. Well, I woke up this morning to multiple missed calls from my old landlord. I'd left my phone number and new address in case any mail was delivered to my old address. I called him back and he asked me why the washer and dryer was gone. I explained that I took them with me, and he started freaking out, saying that he'd put that the place had a washer and dryer in the rental ad, and apparently I'd raised the rent due to them. That sounds like a him problem. He started demanding that I bring them back, because the new tenants have already signed the lease and aren't interested in the place without them. Again, how is this your problem? He even threatened to call the police if I don't take them back. I got angry and I told him I would do no such thing, reminding him that they belong to me. I bought them, and I still had the receipts, as well as a text to him when I moved in, explaining that I was buying them myself. He again threatened to call the police. What the hell? You have the receipts. God, this person must be so used to pushing his tenants around, they think they can get away with literally anything. I told him to do it and see what happened, and hung up at that point. Personally, I don't think I'm in the wrong. I bought them, and they weren't cheap, so I feel like I have a right to take them. My boyfriend is on my side, but today, a coworker said that they think I'm the a-hole for not telling my landlord I was taking them. In my opinion, that should have been obvious. I paid for them. Why would I leave them? Well, my landlord went through with calling the police because the next day they showed up. Honestly, nothing really noteworthy happened. I explained to them what was going on and showed them the receipt for the washer and dryer, as well as the text to the landlord that I had from when I told him I was buying them. The cops took my statement and left. My boyfriend's father is a lawyer, and he's going to be contacting my landlord and sorting everything out. He's advised me to not respond to the landlord anymore for the time being. Oh my god, this is insane! If he'd put fully furnished into the ad, would the landlord also feel entitled to all OP's furniture? I love the argument of, well, I put it in the ad and it raised rent values and the new tenants are expecting it. Like, I don't see how that's my problem, buddy. Wife complains I don't clean while I cook, so I proceed to sparkle the kitchen instead of making dinner. Our next post comes from the Malicious Compliance subreddit, posted by 1mm off. I, 33 male, often do the cooking at home, including the washing up that happens after. My wife, 34 female, usually doesn't cook. We had established that by our second date years ago. I love her to bits, but she is a culinary disaster, and time and sweat has failed to make any improvements. It's a lost battle. The sequence of dinner prep usually starts as soon as I finish work. This involves chopping meat and vegetables and rounding up anything that was previously marinated or thawed. This is immediately followed by cooking and then serving to be eaten hot. It seems logical to me that meals should be enjoyed while they're fresh, and the cleaning up can wait, especially if the kitchen isn't being used by anyone else in the interim. I'm also the one who normally does the washing up after everyone's eaten, and I wash all the cutlery and cooking prep stuff in the same process. This is done while my wife settles our toddler into bed. I prefer this setup because I can get all the washing done in one go, and everyone can eat their meals at the same time together while it's fresh. I don't like washing pans and pots in a wok after cooking and before eating. My wife, however, seems to get annoyed at this. Every now and then, while I'm cooking, she walks in and starts complaining, making notes that I should pack this up and that up, and I should clean the board while waiting for the stir-fry to finish, etc. Sometimes there's literally no downtime for certain dishes, especially with several to serve before it gets too late for the toddler. To be clear, I'll certainly clean some things as I go, especially when it concerns raw meat or things that need to go back in the fridge. I'll wipe down if there's any offensive spills, but for things like chopping boards and certain packages and condiments, I'll leave them on the bench top until I'm done or when I'm washing up. Things that I don't feel pose any risk or have any urgency to be put away, other than making the kitchen look tidy during cooking. Happy to be proven wrong. Anyway, one day, for whatever reason, my wife got real snarky at me because I left a chopping board next to the pans, saying it's not hard to clean as I cook. How would she know? She doesn't cook. Fine, okay, whatever. So the next meal, I made sure to clean everything I touched as I started the meal prep. I had already made sure that the little one had had her dinner, so there was no harm in drawing this out. Need to open that can of pasta sauce? Better wash down the can opener and dry it before we start. Gotta wipe down the whole kitchen top too. Whoops, dropped a garlic clove. Better give the whole kitchen floor a good scrub. Is that a bit of charred residue on the stove? Okay, better degrease the entire area. You get my drift. Wife has put the little one to sleep by now. So 3 hours later, the kitchen is sparkling. Literally. Pasta has not entered the water and the sauce materials have not touched the pan. Wife asks, where's dinner? I tell her I haven't started cooking because I need to clean the fridge. There were some stains under the tomato tray. She went back to bed. I still cooked and packed her lunch. I haven't been harassed since. I think she got the message. Edit. There's no expectation for my wife to clean. I've made it clear that I'm happy to do it, as I clean up messes I make. We split our duties, so she spends that time doing other things that need attention around the house. Too long didn't read. My wife complains that I don't clean while I cook. I prefer to clean after I cook. Next meal, no one gets dinner, and the kitchen is extra sparkly. Remember, I post new content every day, so subscribe for more juicy tea.